Hi, Professor. My name is Jianwe Zhong and this is my first presentation of the Big Data course. So let's go to the introduction part first. In this part, I will briefly introduce the two articles we have to read to finish the first week's assignment. The first article is Data Scientist, the sexiest job of the 21st century. This article is about the new role data scientist is fast gaining prominence in organizations. The authors tells us what the organizations can do to hire and maintain them into the business for long term. The second article is one of the Raw's articles called "You May Not Need Big Data After All." In this article, evidence-based data-driven decision-making provides the answer to the problem of that many companies don't see a return on investment in big data. And the reason is very few companies know how to exploit the data already embedded in their core operating systems. Now let's move to the second part of the presentation, is the article reviews. For the first article, I will just briefly introduce the contents of the authors trying to shows us. Data scientist is a people who understand how to fish out answers to important business questions from today's tsunami of unstructured information. And as companies rush to capitalize on the potential of big data, the largest constraint that many organizations will face is the scarcity of this kind of special talent. And recruiting data scientists requires creativity, since no university programs can produce data scientists. And we have to recognize the aspects of a job that will attract them and retain them may differ from what makes other professionals happy. Last but not least, the data scientists want to join the decision party of the company. So money may count as an important value, but in the long term, tapping into the richest data flows and help the organizations to solve the difficult problems in the database may count more for data scientists. The second article is "You May Not Need Big Data After All." In these articles, authors are trying to tell us how to create an evidence-based decision-making culture by empowering employees to make good decisions. They use 7-Eleven shop stories to tell us how to generate big value from little data relies on providing transparent information to decision makers and setting clear expectations for how they will use it. It is the essential part of building an evidence-based model for a business. And the stories is about how the first CEO of Southland Corporation to empower employees to make good decisions through sending them reports with data and up-to-date information, which the frontline sales clerks may need to make their best decision. And here are the 4 practices of how to empower employees to make good decisions. The first one is agree on a single source of truth. Universal acceptance of one source of truth is the first step in adopting a culture of evidence-based decision making. Insisting on using performance data from just one authorized source is significant for a company to measure the evidence-based decision-making. Just like the Anna company, this may lead to loss for company at the beginning, but it will bring long-term profitability for your organizations, success. The second practice is using scorecards. As the article said, perhaps the best way to teach people how to use data to create business benefits is to provide them with data about their own performance. The most important characteristic of the scorecard is that it focuses on results that individuals can control, and these are not the summaries of the company's stocks and the financial performance. And metrics can help people to understand how they perform can actually make contribution to the business success. And now let's go to the third practice. Explicitly manage your business rules. Little data can have a big effect on performance when managers use the data. Business rules align the actions of operational decision makers with strategic objectives of the company, but that happens only when relevant individuals understand the rules and management regularly adjusts them in response to new information. And embedding business rules in software, also automating them, and frees people from routine discussions, can allow them to focus on activities that demand individual discretion. The last practice is using coaching to improve performance. The article also used the example of 7-Eleven Japan to explain it. Consultants visit each of the company's 16,000 stores twice a week to help sales clerks learn to use the data effectively. The point is, it is not enough to tell people what the new rules or goals are. You have to help them to change their habits from being based on instinct to being based on the data. So, as a result, continual coaching matters. And according to the article, coaching should become the primary responsibility of all managers in the organization. Last but not least, we have to know that shifting business culture to an evidence-based decision-making one will be disruptive for many people, especially in some old organizations with very firm existing structures. So the author suggests us to aim lower first, and we can achieve all the goals step by step, which can actually help to reduce the resistance. And here are some opinions of mine about these two articles. The first one is, evidence-based decision-making culture is indeed the solution. I do agree Ross' opinions to create an evidence-based culture across the whole organizations, because if the management and employees don't even understand how to use the data analytics to drive their daily works, it is useless to just spend money in hyping around in the database, like most of the organizations. And I also read the interview of Ross about this article. She thought most companies are metric driven instead of data driven. And combining of my own working experience, I agree her very much. I used to work in a government taxation department in my country. And all I can see is they are trying their best to make the matrix looks good, but ignoring the meaning which the true matrix can bring. And although the database center's employees have some advice or suggestions to the leaders and officers. They just don't really care about them because they just want the employees in the database center to make the matrix looks better, and they can gain more benefits from the government. And Ross' opinions about creating the evidence-based decision-making culture is really the solution for them, in my opinion. And the second opinion of mine is big data isn't that important. It's the small insights that will change everything, no matter in management and in techniques. For example, yes, big data matters right now. All the companies and organizations try to build their own database and gather more information from their customers. But if you don't really recognize the useful data and what the data means, it is completely useless. So in my opinion, hiring the right data scientists who knows the concept of the organization's goals, and hiring the right management people who can actually help the whole organizations to achieve the goal to dig into database, to have the insights of improving the performance is very significant. And the third opinion of mine is quantifying behavior using analytics can help motivate employees. Just like the second article mentions, the 7-Eleven company used the scorecards to record the performance of the employees and can actually motivate them to drive them to a better stage in the performance. And this kind of activities can actually help to shape the habits of all the employees in your organizations. Once your employees can truly understand and realize what evidence-based decision-making culture is, and realize how data analytics works, this will definitely help the business going to success. And at last, as a Macy student, we are studying the database. We should learn something from these two articles. We cannot just learn how to store data, how to use the data or run the codes. We have to understand the concept of what big data is and what small insights will change the performance of the business. And we have to gain the understanding of that. It is not big data working, it's people working. We need to dig into the matrix and data to explore and find the valuable results from the data. Thank you for patience, Professor. I apologize for my poor English.